Right, here's a little bit about locks and chains, etc. Don't fool yourself. Unless you've got a really good chain, hardened steel and so on, sorry for you, but one decent bolt cutters and that chain is history. And if you don't believe me, when you go and purchase said chain, have a look and see how the guy cuts it to the length you want. Okay? And that is exactly how the guys are going to cut your chain to get to your stuff or open your gate. The same goes for your lock. Now there are locks and there are locks. They come rated, okay, as far as strength and that goes. Your average household lock, man, you may as well use a hair clip, fold it in two. It's just there to lock stuff. It's not there for any crime prevention. Now, at the moment I've got a chain on this gate. Alright, because I've kind of just finished setting everything up there. That is about to change. The secret with a lock is that you need to protect the lock from tools such as grinders and crowbars and bolt cutters and so on. So in essence you can get away with a pretty inexpensive lock as long as people can't get to it. So let me walk you around and I'll show you what I did to my main gate. Alright, and this works because these guys have tried their luck here and they cannot get in. As an example, this is my gate motor. Alright, it's in a big steel box because they're steel gate motors here for the battery so they can charge their cell phones. Alright, now I've got an alarm system rigged up to this that looks like a high voltage system. I could connect that up if I wanted to, but have a look at the lock. That there, that is a round padlock with a very short exposed shackle. Alright, that particular lock, you can get a really expensive version. That one's just a cheap Hong Kong knockoff. Serves the same function, and you'll notice that I've got a thick steel plate on top and a thick steel plate underneath, and the lock locks through there. You cannot get to that lock, not that easily. Alright, and that's what I'm talking about. That you need to protect your lock. Now on the other side of this little endeavor, alright, okay, you'll notice I've got a big solid piece of steel going right across the top here. And this is extreme for a reason, because it needs to be. Okay, up in there, I don't know if you can see it. Let me see. But anyway, up in there, you can see where my finger is there. Can I see where my finger is there? Yes, okay. Up in there is a lock. Okay. And that lock is only accessible from a key that's got an extension spring fitted to it. It's a cheap lock. So that there is a big steel over the top, over engineered enclosure to protect the lock. If you can't get to the lock, you can't damage it. They'd have to come with serious equipment like portable grinders and whatever to cut through the bars and everything, and then even then when they get in they've got a problem. because everything's designed in such a way that you can't just get the motor out. Alright, but I just wanted to speak to you about the locks. So whenever you put a lock on anything, rig it up in such a way that the lock itself is protected, and that will deter most people. If you can deter this bunch here, it'll deter anyone. And you don't have to spend a fortune. Your best bet is to do something. Don't go and buy a off-the-shelf solution. Off-the-shelf solutions can be bought by criminals or studied by criminals, and they will figure a way around it. Okay, so we've had lots of gate motors. If you go to the local hardware, it comes with its own professional lock box, whatever, and they get stolen. Okay, the guys found the weak spot. There's always a weak spot. They found the weak spot, they exploit it, and the next thing, your expensive motor and security device is missing. So make it yourself, or get somebody to make it for you. Something different, so when the guys rock up and have a look and they think, now we're going to sit and think, how are we going to get past this? And you know what? They don't like thinking. This lot over here are a brute force ignorant bunch. They really are, and spiteful. So they're not known for their finesse. They don't pick locks, they break locks. They don't sit and work around taking the pins out of your front door, or finding a way of picking the lock to get in. They bash the front door in. Okay, that's what you're dealing with. So you've got to meet like with like, force with force, brute force with brute force. But the ignorance part of it, you meet with that. Okay, right, next on the list is this gate here, and I'll put that up in a separate video. Just remember what I said about your locks. That goes for locks on anything, your workshop, your whatever it is. Okay, you make sure that your lock is protected. So the chain on the other gate here, what I was figuring on doing is, first of all, you use the gate to protect the lock. Okay, so if the lock's on the inside of the gate, they're on the outside of the gate. That's pretty much problem solved. Okay, so what I want to do here is have a pretty much a U-shaped bit of metal that goes right around, comes right around this, that gets clamped in, and then the lock goes on this side, and similar to that other section there, the lock is protected by the mechanism that it's locking. Okay, if that makes any sense to you. So that's what I'm going to do there, and when the guys come along, it's like, oh, we can't get to the lock. Tough, we'll move on to the next boersod. And that's what you've got to do. Make your system better than your neighbor's system. Alright, check you in the next one.